John Conan, and we're starting something new here at Teacher.org. We're going to try video blogs. Again, my name is John Conan. I am a elementary principal and soon to be superintendent in Western Montana. Today's article for March 22nd, 2020 is Be Visionary. 6 reasons why now is the time for change in education. This year, a triple homicide murder occurred in my community and adjacent to my school, which caused a closure. We then had a district-wide closure for a bomb threat, and now a closure for the coronavirus. To say my school has been hit hard by school closures this year is an understatement. The coronavirus is teaching us a lot about ourselves as teachers, as leaders, and we're finding holes in a lot of areas of education we're providing for our students. There is an exponential amount of variables that leaders must weigh before a school closure is considered. A weather event, a health situation, or a safety concern are all major reasons a school typically closes. It seems these events are occurring in a more repetitive fashion. This should be a sign that we need to rethink and revision schooling. The perception of school still persists in society's mind where students come into a classroom, sit in a row of hard desks attached to chairs, listen to a teacher who stands in front of the room lecturing, and then gives tons of work and homework. In fact, the more homework, the better. This concept can't be farther from the truth than what we know for best practices for our students. Each of these premises can be argued as having a low effect size for learning. This article is not about what education looks like currently, it's more about what it should look like in the future. When we revision education, we need to do so immediately. Here are 6 facets that need to be changed. 1. Wireless communities. In the last 100 years, we have built beautiful new highways, interstates, and other roadways across America. We have built a highway in Glacier Park called Going to the Sun Highway. It's on the side of a rock wall where you could plummet thousands of feet below on one side, while on the other side of the weeping wall, there is water that splashes down as drivers go through there in the spring. This was a modern miracle to build in the early 1900s in Glacier National Park. The road took 11 years to build, with another 4 years of preparation and planning. Well, why can't we do the same with building wireless, metaphorical highways across all the communities in the United States? Wireless capabilities should be accessible to all American citizens, and more importantly, our kids. Can you imagine what our communities could do in education for all students and even adults if we had wireless access to the internet? Access to education would become a way of life for all Americans, as there would be no excuse to learn about something immediately. This is an equity issue our federal government must fix. Number 2. All school supplies should be paid for, including one-on-one, one-to-one devices for all students. Each year, an inequity is celebrated in stores such as Target, Walmart, Staples, and more. The school supply season. The purchasing of school supplies is one of the most difficult concepts to understand when you think children deserve a free and appropriate public education. We ask parents to buy school supplies for their child before the school year starts every fall. To further the inequity, some schools ask their students to bring more than what is asked in other schools. And this usually parallels the socioeconomic status of the school community. The founding fathers of our nation believed public education should be free and that our nation's residents should be educated to a certain level. This founding principle is still evident today. The federal government needs to fund education appropriately and not ask for students to bring these supplies to school each fall. We also need to get into the 2020s. Everyone, almost everyone, has some type of device they can use to access the internet. Yet some of our kids do not. If you look at our federal spending across the nation and the world, you'll see areas where the priority could and should be shifted. This shift in resources would cover a device as a normal school supply for all students in America. Are you telling me we can land the Mars rover, yet we can't pay for a device? Every student could then access the internet while at school and at home. Number 3, breakfast and lunch should be free. In my education career, we have went from having a hot lunch served to making sure students have breakfast, and some schools even serve a third meal every day in their communities. You may argue the fact that food was never a part of the education responsibility of a school, and rightly so. It's only been since 1946 when Truman signed the National School Lunch Program Act. After 74 years since its inception, we must rethink food as a necessity to learning. I'm a firm believer of Maslow before Bloom's. This means I believe we should be meeting the basic needs, or Maslow's hierarchy of needs, before being able to teach our students using Bloom's taxonomy of learning. In essence, we must feed students before they can learn. All educators know that a student has a difficult time learning when their stomach is hurting from not meeting their nutritional needs. The No Kid Hungry breakfast after the bell movement across the nation has helped meet a need for students who are not getting proper nutrition in the morning. The bell rings, then students eat breakfast. In the past, breakfast was served before school, requiring students to show up early. Schools were missing a large portion of students who needed breakfast. In my school, over 60% of our students take part in a breakfast after the bell. Let's take it one step further. I believe all students should receive breakfast and lunch for free. Taking the price of food off the table will help ensure all students are getting nourished so they can learn. Federal and state governments should make this a priority. Number 4, seat time versus proficiency. This may be the most complex concept of the 6 reasons to re-envision education. Currently, we ask students to attend school 180 days or 1,080 hours in most school districts across the nation. If these numbers are different, they all evolve around the concept of seat time. Seat time refers to the number of hours or days a student is at school and on campus. Yes, they may not be seated, but they're physically at the school. We know that attendance matters. We know that students that attend school more routinely are more proficient. In fact, you'll find studies that show that attendance has a direct correlation to graduation and future success. In any case, we can find outliers in these studies that do not fit the typical scenario and mathematical equation. Some students may not attend school regularly, but they are still proficient in their academics. How do these students do it? Some of our students learn outside of the walls of school, or they are able to comprehend and regurgitate that information from which they are present at school. Unfortunately, we have many students across the nation who need more time or miss school frequently and just need more opportunities to demonstrate proficiency. The current model isn't working for them, and I believe we can reconfigure and revision a new model for education, a model built on proficiency. The current model of education was developed during the Industrial Revolution and followed many of its successful facets. We teach the masses of students a concept, mostly in one fashion, and then we switch them from room to room to insert new information. We do this for 180 days. Then we send them on to the next grade level and do the same thing. We have 13 grade levels for inserting new information, kindergarten to 12th grade. We need to move to a proficiency model for educating our students. The standards-based movement in education is a great start. Each grade level has specific standards, and students are working towards proficiency in each of these standards. I believe we need to blur the lines of grade levels as well as seat time. In my article, I have a representation of this model. I broke all students up into 3 categories. Students that are near proficient and below, students that are proficient and above, and then a group of students we call everyone. Students identified as yellow, or nearing proficiency or below, will attend school for 10 months out of the school year, with 4 months in small class sizes with only them on campus. They'll be given adequate start time in the beginning, which may be extensive review or preview of content in August. They are then more prepared to start the school year with all students in September when they receive targeted interventions with adequate resources and personnel. Students identified as red, or proficient and above, will attend school 7 months out of the school year. 6 of those months they'll be combined with everyone on campus. 1 month, these students will be on campus by themselves. With small class sizes, this month can extend and broaden their learning quickly. This model is an 11-month schedule for schooling. Teachers' contracts would need to be negotiated with set time. The goal of this model is to make sure students are receiving the proper instructions, interventions, resources, and staff members to improve achievement and increase proficiency. This model is based on proficiency and not on seat time. Students may move between groups as needed in order for students to get what they need. We also need to look at asynchronous and synchronous learning. Synchronous learning occurs at a specific time and day. Asynchronous learning can be viewed and learned at any time that is convenient to the student. I believe we need a balance of these two types of learning formats, as well as blended learning. As an adult, I recently learned how to take off the hard top of my Jeep and then replace it with my soft top. I was able to watch someone on YouTube demonstrating how to do it. I will not lie, I watched that video multiple times and backed it up to watch specific sections frequently. Shouldn't we have multiple opportunities to learn something until we're proficient? This is a huge argument for a proficiency learning model. This is just one proficiency model for a school year. There are many other models similar to this that have been proposed. Education policies will need to be changed. Society and cultural shifts will need to occur. But without them, we'll continue the same industrial age model we currently have in place. Yes, I foresee much troubleshooting and hurdles to overcome, but we must revision what education could be by basing our learning on proficiency. Number 5, emergency protocols for school campus closures. Many districts practice emergency protocols across the nation. These protocols are set in place to keep everyone safe, as well as getting people to move to safety more effectively and efficiently. We also are now creating new protocols for closures like bomb threats, crime in our communities, and now sickness and pandemics. When we close our school doors, our instructional doors should stay open. We must then shift from an on-campus learning to remote learning from home. Yes, this will cause our families to be home with their children, but as the coronavirus has proven to us, we must find a way for our families to keep their jobs, earn money, as well as taking care of the needs of their own children at the same time. As you heard and read from earlier, this connects to my ideas above in number 1 and number 2 in order to best support our families. Families who have devices and internet connections are more likely to be able to work from home and take care of their children, as well as their children being able to use the technology to continue remote learning. In addition, idea number 4 above, where students are held accountable to proficiencies rather than seat time, make missing in-class learning not as important. As our instruction becomes more effective with remote learning, our schools will be able to blur the lines of blended learning, whether on campus or at home. And lastly, number 6, what I believe is the most important one out of all of them. I believe a reason to re-envision schools is to understand that human contact matters, and computers will never replace human teachers. We have learned a lot from COVID-19. We now have an even more humongous argument why a computer program and online learning will never replace a human teacher. As an educator, I have seen many computer programs that tout the fact that they can increase student achievement. While some of these programs can support learning, a computer cannot read the fact that the student seated in front of you is tired from staying up late to babysit their little brother, or that they did not get breakfast that morning, or the fact that their parents fought before coming to school. In the same sense, many students learn content more effectively from a teacher than from a computer-based program. Understand, I'm not saying computer programs are bad, I'm just saying they should be used supplementary to what a teacher is teaching. Teachers go to college, earn a degree, and then are trained to meet specific needs of each school, their classroom, and even individual students. I take offense to anyone who says that teaching is easy if they have never been in a classroom for a year with 31 students who have various learning needs ranging from first grade to ninth grade. And let's add in a plethora of social and emotional needs ranging from trauma, anxiety, and other diagnosed conditions. What my teachers are finding more than anything is how important human connection is when learning. We know a teacher makes thousands of decisions each day. The best teachers understand that many of those decisions connect and engage a student socially, emotionally, and academically. A parent homeschooling may know how to do this well, but as we all know, having someone else work with our children may be the best solution for success. A well-trained and certified teacher. I still remember my mom, a retired teacher now, working with me on handwriting at the dinner table. Painful nails being poked into my fingers and my brain. I am so grateful for my computer and being able to type. We should all agree that human contact will always be a part of the most effective schools. Now, we can talk about these 6 reasons to re-envision education. Or we can put our minds to use right now and start planning. Remember, the Going to the Sun Highway in Glacier National Park took 4 years of planning before they started building. But it is a glorious road. Come join me in driving to the sun.